purpose of the zodiac is not to figure out what your sign is and what sort of attributes that means for you this month. The zodiac has a much more profound meaning, but that the ancients were well aware of. And this is why you find the zodiac represented everywhere, all over the earth. And it's the same signs, the same 12 signs, because the zodiac is divided into 12 houses. Each house has a particular sign associated with it. And each sign represents an astronomical age. And each age is 2,160 years. And these ages are calculated on the vernal equinox, because whatever that constellation is on the horizon on the vernal equinox that the sun is rising into, that tells you the age. And the grouping of these three astrological ages is called an aeon. And when you transition from one aeon to the next, and an aeon has a duration of 6,480 years, it's cataclysmic. Why does cataclysm happen like clockwork? Why were the ancients tracking it? Well, that's what the zodiac tracks. So what set the mechanism into motion was the detonation of the planet Rahab, that planet that once existed between Mars and Jupiter. So Rahab is detonated. By the way, the Earth is observing the destruction of Rahab, and a large part of Rahab goes flying off into the solar system. But it's still caught in the gravitational force of the sun. And so every 6,480 years, a chunk of Rahab, which is now an asteroid, comes back into the neighborhood of the planets in our solar system. And it's making an elliptical path around the sun where it slingshots back out into the darkness of space. It comes back around every 6,400 years, slingshots back out. And when it's back in our neighborhood, the Earth passes through the debris field. And it's like clockwork, like all the other planets on their orbits around the sun. So that is the mechanism of cyclic cataclysm.
Welcome to the new government tracking of the Earth's magnetic pole shift. The brand new site is up and kicking and much better than the old one. We're running the magnetic North Pole motion here, slowly traipsing around northern Canada for a few centuries, and then the acceleration. The magnetic pole shift is a cyclical event on Earth, and it's pretty major. Noah experienced it. They line up with the Younger Dryas catastrophe, the last glacial maximum, and every Heinrich event in the last 50,000 years. Major losses of species come with every event, and earlier today, in the morning show, we covered two special reports by ALLATRA, a collection of scientists who have also come to the conclusion we're about to experience Earth's disaster cycle. Now, I want to be clear, I have major questions about this group and especially their ringleader, but when they cite their sources, I can review it myself, and there is a lot of good stuff in here. That's what I'm going to show you. In the first report, they identify the fact that there are magnetic anomalies, not just climatological ones, and that can't be blamed on human pollution. In fact, we're seeing changes on the other planets too. It's a solar system shift. But it was the other report that really spun me sideways yesterday, and we're going to go over key points and then two scary points I mentioned this morning. So first, excellent job identifying the fact that Earth's rotation speed is increasing, shortening the length of a day. It's another thing you can't blame on humans. They break down the 1990s pole shift event that sent us from losing 5% of the field per century to 5% every decade, and which shot the movement of the poles into overdrive, along with it taking an abrupt and unexpected 90-degree turn. In a brand new Earth change for the list, they found a paper I missed from 2017 highlighting a molten jet stream in the core, and it's speeding up. Not to mention the fact that we now have the new risk in modern times of losing every power grid at the same time. Folks, the end of the window is unchanged, but now, instead of it being sometime in the late 2040s, I'm now going to say it could be anywhere from 2030 to the late 2040s. We will see what the data shows. Again, we are awaiting the next acceleration.
Every primary ancient civilization on Earth has a record of cataclysm. They all recognize, acknowledge, and record this event that happened that brought to ruin the old world, the antediluvian world, which they considered to be superior. That the civilizations that existed in the antediluvian world, in the minds of the ancients, were superior to their own civilizations. This is a time that, the ancient Egyptians refer to as Zep Tepi, the first time. And it's known by the Greeks as the Golden Age. This is that period of time when the gods descended to the earth. They cohabitated with human beings. They copulated with human women, and they progenerated a race of hybrid giants, demigods in the earth. That general narrative is ubiquitous. It's universal on planet Earth. The zodiacal system was given to mankind by God, and I think it's totally evident. Enoch, we all know that his son's name is Methuselah. Methuselah's name means, one of the meanings is, his death shall bring. And of course, what shall his death bring? The flood. the flood of Noah. That's an indication that when Methuselah dies, the flood is going to ensue, because who received the revelation of the flood? Everyone says Noah. No. Enoch received the revelation of the flood. Noah was told to build the ark, but Enoch received the revelation of the flood and told his descendants that the flood was coming. When would the flood come? When his son Methuselah died. That was when the flood would come. And guess when the flood ensued? The year Methuselah died. How long did Methuselah live? I think it was 969 years. Well, that's the duration of a Suntelia, the window of time during which cataclysm will ensue.
That's crazy, dude.
You want to hear something really fascinating?
Sure.
The ancients viewed the zodiac as the great mill in the sky that was grinding out the ages. And this timepiece is in the Bible. The primary timepiece in the heavens is the zodiac, is the great mill. And it's what the zodiac tracks is what's called axial precession, the precession of the equinox. And that's based on the fact that the Earth is tilted on a 23.5 degree angle and it wobbles. It has this very gradual, slow wobble. And it takes, nearly 26,000 years to complete one wobble. And that creates a scenario in which the position of the constellations change over time because the perspective of the heavens from the Earth changes due to the wobble. So that's what the zodiac is depicting. It's keeping time.
And of course, their main point was that they think the major event of this cycle will be the reawakening of the Siberian traps, and oh boy, I hope not. It was the greatest volcanic event in Earth's history. It erupted for 1 million years, changed the planet forever. But it was the next two images I'm going to show from the report that really caught my attention. I'm not actually too worried about the Siberian traps. First, this is what I was trying to explain to you guys a couple weeks ago. The magnetic pole shift progression is not linear. It goes up and down year to year, but with a long-term trend towards that acceleration and the pole shift. Outstanding identification here of that moment of acceleration where we started shifting 10 times faster. That is easily visible on the magnetic pole motion tracker. The dots are year by year, so if they're closer together, pole is moving slower. Further apart means the pole is moving faster, and that's the speed up right there. I went ahead and actually did maximum velocity plots going backwards so you can see how before the 1850s, everything was nominal, normal pole motion. The weakening had begun, but this is when the pole shift in total began. Now, going along with this is something I noticed in their motion minus Chandler wobble graphic. Folks, I live and breathe this data, and at no point did I ever think to do this. I had long suspected that the major accelerations occur after the slowdowns, like it's taking a breath, gearing up to lurch forward again. Folks, that's exactly what is shown here, and there is no good way to mathematically or even qualitatively show this without first removing the Chandler wobble, which I never thought to do. After every single slowdown, which all include a curvature of the motion vector, there is a major leap forward in speed and progress in the magnetic pole shift. And yes, it's clear we just had our curve in the vector, the slowdown or stalling of speed acceleration, and that means there is only one thing coming next. The major concern is, of course, that this will be the acceleration that takes us over the edge. I do hope we remember the now famous studies confirming that these magnetic pole shifts accelerate to rapid speeds that can bring the shift in less than 100 years. We have already eclipsed that time in this event, so it's anyone's guess how much time we have left. How much time until the acceleration reaches 100 times faster than modern shift rates? That is where we're going. If we were to hit that rate tomorrow, the world ends before 2030. Hopefully that doesn't happen. I have long said that math is suggesting the pole shift should occur a bit before 2050, in the late 2040s. But that is an extrapolation. It's not a crystal ball. Folks, we await the next acceleration, the next recurrence of Earth's disaster cycle of space radiation and climate chaos and animal navigation failures. Good afternoon, folks. This morning we got the third confirmation of the geomagnetic excursion 6,000 years ago. The 6,000-year cycle, and the bigger double of the cycle every 12,000 years, is fully in perspective, and they have their official names. This was the paper, and while we had insisted for years that it was an excursion at the 6,000 years ago mark, scientists hadn't declared it officially. We were calling it the Noah event back then. When it was first declared from a Chinese lava flow and then confirmed weeks later by another in Russia, we began calling it the China event. Now, they've gotten a bit more specific. The Noah or China event 6,000 years ago is officially named the Tianqi event. We have exceptionally good data going back tens of thousands of years. The cycle is pretty solid, and it matches the 6,000-year Heinrich cycle of climate and the 6,000-year superflare cycle, making a solar geomagnetic climate cycle. Each event brings major radiation surges, climate chaos, volcanoes, floods, and losses of species due to those environmental challenges. Since we have the official name for the event 6,000 years ago, it's a good time to review why these events are so dangerous, why they are extinction-level events for many species. Yesterday, we shared the critical new chapter out of a new university textbook, hitting the topic of space radiation and extinctions. And the two things it mentions are of critical importance for us over the coming years: the ozone loss due to particle-driven molecular destruction, and the extra exposure to cosmic ray space radiation. Basically, climate chaos and radiation exposure. This is because the only thing standing in the way of those effects is the magnetic field of Earth, the one that is weakening in this ongoing pole shift. To compare, here is a side-by-side of the normal and excursion or pole shift magnetic field. On the left, the strong field protection in bright colors in polar configuration. But on the right, we see the poles are actually near the equator, and the brighter colors are gone, leaving us more vulnerable to that dangerous space radiation. After 2 decades of scientific disagreement, the naysayers have now disappeared. Every major study on this topic in the last several years shows that these magnetic reversals, these pole shifts, are extreme events for the environment. They take a huge toll on the biosphere, and that is usually due to the extra radiation and ozone destruction-driven climate chaos. The best such paper directly tied those extinctions to past pole shifts in history, and they offer us a warning for the future. These, by the way, are the top scientists in the field in the world's #1 geophysics journal. Now, the aurora are beautiful, no doubt, but they have been offering us a warning lately, breaking records, appearing too often, and with less than expected solar activity. They're already having measurable effects on the ozone and on the environment as a whole. There are hundreds of studies confirming the ozone destruction by solar protons, solar electrons, and cosmic rays, all of which are penetrating into the atmosphere more with the weakening field and will reach critical levels in the years ahead. This extra radiation does two main things. Its ozone destruction allows more ultraviolet light into the Earth's system, causing more heat, and the extra cosmic rays amplify the extremes of weather of all kinds: heat, cold, wind, lightning, storms, flooding, drought. Basically taking Earth's weather and pushing it to the max in all directions. These things not only impact the climate, but living creatures. That extra ultraviolet light is dangerous for animals and plants, as well as the microbiota of the planet, including the plankton and chlorophyll food chain foundations in the ocean. The cosmic rays provide a similar amplification of particle radiation on this same life as well. Everything from cancer to cellular dysfunction to DNA mutations. Furthermore, the magnetic field of Earth usually funnels much of this particle radiation to the polar region, where virtually nobody lives and far less life exists. But in the excursion scenario, those polar cusps are found at lower latitudes, and an extra directing of that energy and radiation will hit the life-housing regions of the Earth, while at the same time, the field is also less able to block the pushing of Van Allen belt electrons downward into the atmosphere during solar storm impact. It's a double whammy for the latitudes where most of the life on Earth is found. So why do these scientists keep finding extinction and major biosphere stress related to the magnetic pole shifts? It's because of those climate impacts and both the extra ultraviolet and particle radiation. Taking extra radiation when your environment shifts dramatically is a serious challenge for most life. But it gets worse. It's not just birds that use the magnetic field for navigation, but many other creatures as well, including several marine species like dolphins, whales, sharks, turtles, and various fish. And it's not just for migration, but foraging and finding reproductive zones. Similar impacts are found for insects in terms of hibernation, egg success, and activity in the day versus night. And even plants use Earth's field. It's critical for germination, seed health, growth, and flowering. So let's make that climate chaos, extra radiation, and navigational struggles, not to mention the problems with the plants. This is why the scientists are able to so clearly see that these cyclical magnetic pole shifts are major problems for life on Earth. As humans deal with these challenges, both directly and indirectly through their impact on the food chain, we have also made ourselves largely dependent on electricity as a society. When the magnetic field gets weak enough, the sun is going to turn off the lights, destroy every power grid, and when that happens, there's no more heat, no more water treatment or distribution, no refrigeration or food transport, no gas, no ATMs, no phones or internet, no 911, no critical infrastructure at all. This is a growing issue, and it's on Earth's bingo card for the years ahead. In just the last year, things have taken an even more alarming turn. The March 2023 magnetic anomaly has accelerated this process even faster. We're on the way down much quicker now, which is what we're seeing with the accelerated downward curve in this chart. It is the reason why a minor solar event in April of 2023 caused an unprecedented and new kind of plasma penetration solar storm effect. It is the reason why 2023 broke the low-latitude auroral record, and it is the reason why we got impossibly low-latitude auroras this past weekend from solar activity that was significant, but it wasn't extreme. In the past, these kinds of aurora only happened with solar activity that was 20 to 50 times stronger than what we got. It happened this week because our planet is losing its protection and becoming more vulnerable.
You what, mate?
Yeah.